Hi, everyone. Erica of the Feel Good Shift. It is Wednesday, coming to you live with one of my probably most personal stories because of the shame that I used to carry around this, because of how it used to define me, and how now I've learned to use that as my biggest piece of strength and understanding and knowledge, and how this particular bit has helped me embrace life and love myself and love life in a way that I don't think a lot of people get to experience. So I consider this, one of those biggest blessings that came in disguise as my biggest quote unquote curse at that time. So a lot of you may not know the story, but I'll go ahead and share. It's basically back in 2001, I ended up being in a mental institution for a very short period of time because I was then diagnosed by, well, someone's opinion of me, as schizophrenic. And for those of you who are not knowledgeable of what the mental illness or disease is, it's basically you're delusional, you're hallucinating, you're hearing things, you're seeing things that are not there. But basically, your perception of the world is skewed, and it's skewed in a negative way. So that everything that you're seeing is a threat to you and your life and the way that you're being. Everything around you is out to basically kill you. There's no positivity there. Everything, every thought, every idea just kind of puts you in a state of terror and panic. It's a really hard thing to overcome. And one of the things that ends up happening is you need medication to numb it out, to kind of put yourself in a space where the panic is reduced, where you're not feeling life as much, because then even if the thoughts come in, your reaction is not there. When I was in the hospital, because I went to a normal traditional medical hospital to begin with, and then from there they transfer me to the institution. When you're there, they hook you up to an EKG, monitoring your heart rate and just making sure that you're okay. Every time the panic would come in, my heart rate would skyrocket and I would start cold sweat, and it would be a really, really intense experience, basically to the point that I was close to having a heart attack. So not the most fun part of my life, for sure. But what I ended up understanding was that maybe at that particular moment in time, I couldn't discern between reality and what my mind was making up, which when you work with me, you understand that there isn't much difference. But at that point, it was about how I was feeling, right? And I knew that maybe I couldn't control my thoughts, but I could control my breath. And my breath can control my heart rate. And my heart rate could stay low, and my panics will not be as severe. So that was step one for me. It's kind of like, okay, I'm taking this medication. I'm still feeling the panic. This is shitty. I don't want to live like this. So I'm sitting there, I'm having this whole emotional piece where the panic is kicking in. I'm feeling overwhelmed, just completely at a loss of control. My reality is nowhere near what it was quote unquote supposed to be, right? Because I'm having all this delusional things happening within my own brain that I was believing to be true. Eventually, what I started noticing was I was having peaks and valleys. At the valley, I was at my worst. I thought I was going to die right then and there, that either my heart was going to explode or somebody was literally going to come in and kill me in the worst possible ways as I'm lying in my hospital bed. On the other side was the intense panic. In the peak, I was actually pretty blissful and at peace. At that peak, like, life was beautiful and amazing. And I was like, wow, like, I feel great. Everyone that came in, like, this big surge of love would just come out of my body. Like, everyone came in and I saw them as loving beings. But what started happening was not everyone that I was feeling was a loving being, and not everyone that I was feeling was necessarily out to kill me. And I started learning to navigate, like, how each person made me feel. And one of the biggest things that happened as a result was that I ended up learning to recognize. I heard a voice, which was very helpful. It's like if your thoughts were being broadcast, if someone was listening to your thoughts right now, what would happen? And then I was like, oh, well, this would be like a horror movie right now. And I started learning that I could then control my thoughts. It's like, well, I don't want people hearing what's going on in my head. Like, this is embarrassing. And for a moment, I did believe that people could hear my thoughts. Any negative thought that I thought about someone else, I thought someone could hear it. And when you start believing that someone can hear your thoughts, you start really fine-tuning what's going on in your head, how you're thinking about life, how you're thinking about people. And it became this dance between controlling my thoughts and controlling my reaction to my thoughts. Controlling my thoughts, controlling my reaction to my thoughts. And I was still on medication. And I still had to do this on meds because what the meds did was they numbed me out. But that teeter-tottering, that whole peak and valley thing was still going on inside of me. So even on medication, which I didn't want to be on, I still had to learn how to control myself because I set a goal for myself because the doctor basically told me that I would never have a normal life, which in reality, that has become true. I would never have a normal life and that I would always have to be on medication. Now, while I could accept that I was never going to have a normal life, and I got to define that later on, I was not okay with being on meds for the rest of my life. I remember my sister came in one day and she planted this thing in my head where I had a choice. And up until that moment, I didn't believe that I had a choice on whether or not I was on meds or not. I just know that I didn't want to be on it. And she highlighted very beautifully that I had a choice. I could either stay there and believe that and be on the meds for the rest of my life, or I could literally think of a different option for myself. And one of the biggest gifts of my life was the awareness of that choice. And within 6 months, I had weaned myself of all medication. One, out of necessity, because at that time I couldn't afford to stay on it. Two, because I knew that I didn't want to live that way. So the reason I am sharing this with you is because of how it has built my character, of everything, how it has become the biggest gift of my life. Because of how I had to navigate, I became the biggest fan. I'm still the biggest fan of science of mind and understanding how your thoughts create your reality and understanding that your feelings and your thoughts create your reality and how to master those in a way that I wake up feeling great. I don't need the meds. I have a super clean life. I absolutely love the way that I feel every single day. I wake up and I'm like, this is my life. I get to go out, do what I love, work with people, improve people's lives every single day. I'm taking that to another platform. And it's amazing how at that time, I felt like an absolute mad person. I felt like there was no way that I was ever going to love life or myself again. I hated everything. I hated life. I knew I wasn't going to be able to plug myself back in to life as it was because I knew at that moment I was never going to be the same. And it has been the biggest blessing because as you understanding, hi Sandra, mwah, and as you understand how to navigate life, how to see all your triggers, how to understand yourself from within, the cleaner you become, the bigger of a channel you become for the divine to come through you and express itself, the more of your reality you get to create. And one thing that I learned the hard way was that this world that we're living in is a bunch of goo, a bunch of energetic goo. It's like everything. It's like an ocean of energy that we're constantly in. And you get to decide where that energy goes based on your thoughts and based on your feelings. So for a lot of you, this isn't new information. For a lot of you, this is like, yeah, I know that. I've studied like The Secret and the Law of Attraction, and it doesn't sound like anything new. But I assure you that I thought I knew this from a different place. And this year, that understanding has gone even deeper, where not only do I know that I get to control from the outside, from the inside out, I get to really be in charge of myself and my results, but that I know who I am. Like, I know at that bigger space, I know what it means to be a spiritual being having a human experience. And it is the most miraculous thing I have ever, 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 ever experienced in my life. It's setting a brand new platform for me. Like, I thought I was here, and now I'm elevating. And just when I thought it couldn't get better, it has. And I'm sharing this because a lot of you get stuck in your day to day. I'm frustrated, I'm stuck, I'm feeling this, I'm thinking that, and your thoughts and your feelings create this downward spiral of bullshit that you don't want in your life. And the thing is, like, you haven't learned how to really take control of how you're thinking and feeling to create a different result. And that is like my jam. So I told you I was going to be coming in here and sharing all of these bits with you of what I've learned over the years from my own experience, of what I've learned from reading, hundreds of books at this point, between like physical books, Kindle books, audiobooks, you name it. And I really want to impress upon you that your reality can be shifted. There's no other way of doing it. You can't change your results unless you change the way that you're looking at your life. And the only way that you can really shift the way that you look at your life is by changing the way that you think about you and who you are and the world outside of yourself and the way that you feel about those things as well. It has been a long journey for me, like almost 20 years, which I'm really, really excited about, even having had that experience and being able to love myself, love life, and understand how I'm creating, like endlessly creating, because that's all you are. You are a creative being. I'm planning on talking about inductive and deductive reasoning, and I'll touch on it briefly right now. Basically, inductive is the inspiration that flows in. Like, you get this idea, it sparks you up, you're feeling alive, you're like, holy shit, this feels amazing, I'm totally in, I want to do this. Deductive is the other part of that, where you're kind of like, well, actually, I tried before, I don't know if this is going to work, and you start deducting yourself, right? You go expansive with the inductive piece, and deductively, you start shrinking yourself back. It's literally like a deduction. You're subtracting from yourself and your idea and the possibility of it coming to life. If this is something that's resonating with you, drop me some hearts, drop me some comments, let me know what you want me to teach you on. Like, what is it, where is it that you're stuck? Where is it that you need help? What is it that you have been wanting for like a long time and it still hasn't come through? Because there's something going on inside of you that's not allowing that result to happen. That's not allowing that result to manifest within your life. And you are responsible for you. It's not the environment. It's not anything outside of you. It's you and you versus you. And taking that versus out so that you are fully aligned with yourself, moving forward closer into the direction of the life that you truly desire. As I'm being vulnerable with you about my experience about being in a mental institution, I put the hashtag knock knock Neo because I'm a huge fan of The Matrix. If you haven't watched the movie, go watch it. There are some really beautiful truths in that. And I feel like one of the scenes, if you have seen it, is when he's asleep and he hears this knock, 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 Neo. The Matrix has you. And I want to kind of leave you with that so that you can marinate on, like, what is the Matrix? How does it have you? How are you thinking about your life and your experience? How are you leaving everything else to external circumstances instead of being the creator of your experience and of your life? And it goes a lot deeper than that. Like, this is not surface stuff. This is not the way that you have possibly understood it. And if you're really interested in understanding it the way that I have learned to understand it and the way that I'm creating a whole different experience for myself, hit me up. Let's have a conversation. Let's have you really dive deep and have you see the power that you truly have. And some of you are not ready, and I understand that. And some of you are so ready to jump in with both feet in, head first. And those are the people that I'm talking to, because I don't work with average people. I work with people that want more, that know that they can, and are ready to get out of their own way. I love you all so much. You are me, I am you. There's this beautiful unity and synergy happening right now. And the only reason I ever feel inspired to come on is because you need to receive this as much as I do. I hope this has served you in some way. If it has, let me know. This is how this reciprocity happens. And just think about it. Think about all the things that you want unapologetically, write them down, make that long list, whatever those things are, and make a commitment to yourself that no matter what happens, you're going to get there. Okay? Love you all. Have an awesome rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Okay, ciao for now.